Hello and welcome back, YouTubers. I'm Protomario, and today, around this time of month, the 20th of November, is where the consoles of the next generations usually tend to release. And so we have a bunch of anniversaries coming out. Not only is the 360 around 10 years old, but I believe the Super Nintendo is around 25 years old. And if you count 1985 around December, the regular Nintendo will be almost 30 years old. Roughly. Almost. And with these anniversaries coming out, people always seem to want to look back and do a retrospective, and I have no issue with that. Honestly, it's very cool to think about that stuff. So I wanted to talk about my gaming experiences through the years. So let me begin with the NES. My earliest memories with the NES are playing Contra with my father. That's before my parents divorced, and I rarely ever saw him again. Yes, I am a Debbie Downer because that memory is imprinted in my head. Playing Contra with my father on the NES is one of my earliest memories, and then I do recall playing the NES when I was a little bit older, and things didn't work on it. They just didn't. I remember my parents, my uncle, and things of that nature, like people would always say, okay, are you sure you want to play this game? Because if we have to switch it, it might not work, and I remember that. And the old blowing the cartridge trick did not work all of the time. It truly was the contacts and things like that. I did not have a lot of experience with the NES, seeing as I was around 4 years old when it was at its popularist. So that would be around the 1990s. And around 1991 and 92 is when the Super Nintendo started coming in the picture, and I was a bit older and a bit smarter and able to understand that stuff a lot better. So the Super Nintendo was one of my first systems. I came downstairs during Christmas and I was gifted a Super Nintendo by Santa Claus. Yeah, the man himself, Kris Kringle. My game came with Super Mario World and Super Mario All-Stars, believe it or not. I had one of the earliest models of the Super Nintendo, and I enjoyed it. I loved it. I played my games on an old boob tube TV. None of this flat screen HD shit that we have these days. I had resolutions like 360p on a boob tube 17-inch TV, man. Yeah, those were the days, let me tell you. They weren't great. No, they weren't. But I did enjoy my time because I had spent most of my time with the Super Nintendo, though I did have a Sega Genesis also. My neighbor, my uncle, he bought a Sega Genesis, a Model 1, and I would borrow his system and he would borrow mine, and we would flip off systems and trade systems, and I learned how to hook it up, and I had to use the coaxial cable with it, and I actually had a VCR that I had to go through my Super Nintendo to play it on my TV, and same with the Sega Genesis, or we had to hook up the cable to the coaxial connection. It was crazy, man. Crazy stuff back then. Stuff that kids had to do back then to actually get their games to play and work, because they didn't have like multiple inputs and things of that nature in the TVs that they do nowadays. And you just tend to learn stuff. I remember playing a fighting game like Ultimate Warriors or something on the Sega Genesis. I remember playing Sonic 1 and 2. I remember playing Vector Man and being blown away by the graphics, how cool it was. It was such a fun game, and just a multitude of different games, but my Super Nintendo is really where most of my fond memories come from, because that's the system I had the most of the time, and I was able to play games like Zombies Ate My Neighbors on it. I remember someone gave me Rise of the Robots for my birthday and Christmas at one point in time, because my birthday's really close to Christmas, so of course, but it ended up, it's a very fun system to have. I used to play Mario All-Stars. I would beat every single Mario game there was. I beat Super Mario World, and we would always talk about these secrets that would come out. I had Zelda. I had Super Metroid for the system. I had all the big games that would come out for the system. I remember playing Chrono Trigger and Earthbound for it as well. It was a great age to live in. Now, I skipped over the 32X and the 3DO and systems like that. When I was younger, I didn't have those systems. I barely had enough money to have a good amount of games in my library. I usually had to go to the video game store and rent my games. And I skipped over for those systems. I unfortunately didn't have the chance to own a PS2, but I did play it when I was a kid. Not that much, though. I didn't play, I say PS2, I mean PS1. I didn't have a chance to play PS1 that much, and that was rather unfortunate because there was a lot of cool games that came out on the PS1 that I would have loved to have played when they came out. But I played a N64 a lot because my grandmother bought an N64 so that I would have something to do when I went over to her place and spent the night. Now I would play through Ocarina of Time, Mario 64, and just a multitude of Nintendo-themed games like GoldenEye and Mario Kart, and I had a lot of fun doing that stuff. Whenever I used to go to sleepovers with my friends, we would have an N64, and one of my best memories is walking in on them playing a game of Super Smash Brothers, and it's just thinking, oh man, what is this game? This is awesome. I gotta get in on this. And you know, memories like that are just excellent. Having a great time playing games like that and stuff like that, which is just way, way, way awesome. And I wish that most people would have those things today. When the generations continued, I eventually ended up getting a GameCube, PlayStation 2, and Xbox, and I was able to play a lot of those games I missed out on the original PlayStation, and I played a lot of GameCube titles, like a lot of them. And I played a few Xbox titles like Fable and the Star Wars game that was packaged in. But as far as the rest of the retrospective, I think it's a little bit too early to be talking about my times with my 360. Like, that wasn't that long ago for me. I got my 360 back in 2006, 2007, and yeah, I just ended up buying my 360 so that I could play the upcoming release of Grand Theft Auto 4, Halo, and Call of Duty. And when I was in the military, I didn't have a lot of time to game, so that pretty much got put on the back burner, and it wasn't until 2010 when I got out that I was able to play games more. But that is my retrospective on the generations and the anniversaries that are out. I had a lot of fun growing up playing with games and things of that nature, even though I was limited to an hour a day with every video game that I had. This doesn't even include my experiences with the Game Boy, which I had quite a few games on the Game Boy Color. I mean, I remember playing Revenge of the Gator on the original Game Boy. I remember playing Tetris, Super Mario Land on it. You know, I remember Pokemon. Good lord, how could I forget Pokemon, you know? But there were a multitude of games I played on each individual system, and excuse me, and I have since then played quite a few games on each individual system as well. So yeah, gaming is great, gaming is fun, and there's a place for everyone within video games. So I've been your host, Protomario, and I'm signing out, and why don't you let me know your retrospective on video games and the anniversaries that are coming up in the comments below, and I'm signing out. Thanks for watching the video, and please remember to like it and share it wherever you can.
And now, the important decision of joining the Maverick Rebellion. We are a tight group of individuals who rebel against stereotypes and greater evils that are commonly accepted. ISPs, children being conned out of games, sexism in video games. Enough is enough, and the Mavericks have had it. If you choose to subscribe or stay subscribed, you are joining the fight against injustice by watching my numerous video topics, from net neutrality to publishers covering up botched releases. The Mavericks are always informed on the issues plaguing your gaming experience today. So don't be left out in the cold, and don't let those people keep you down. Join the Maverick Rebellion today and become a member of the community that will listen and engage with you. What are you waiting for? Just click subscribe and you'll be in good company. Mavericks unite!